Chapter 3. As a family, we threw ourselves into growing things. I have photos from the early trips to buy seeds and pick out young plants. I look insanely excited. Early on, I adopted my gardening outfit. It did not change over the years. I almost always wore a khaki shirt and a red hat for sun protection. Red is my favorite color because it is very important in the plant world. I had tan pants with built in knee pads and lace up leather work boots. This outfit was designed for practical reasons. My unruly, long, curly hair was pulled back and secured by some kind of clip. I had magnifying glasses, like the elderly wear for close up inspection. In my garden, in this uniform, I determined, through chemical analysis at the age of 7, that the brown flecks that appeared on the backyard furniture were bee poops. I was astonished that more people had not figured this out before. In an ideal world, I would have spent 24 hours a day conducting investigations, but rest is critically important for development in young people. I calculated my exact biorhythms and I needed 7 hours and 47 minutes of rest every night. Not just because I was obsessed with the number 7, which was the case, but because that's how my circadian rhythms were set. It's chemical. Isn't everything? I was told that I lived too much inside my head. Maybe because of this, I haven't done that well at school and I've never had many friends. But my garden gave me a window into other aspects of companionship. When I was 8 years old, a flock of wild green rumped parrots moved into the fishtail palm tree by the back wooden fence. A pair built a nest, and I was able to witness the arrival of the parrot babies. Each one of those little birds had their own distinctive chirp. I'm pretty sure only the mom green-rumped parrot and I knew this. When the littlest parrot was pushed from the nest, I rescued the tiny creature, naming him Fallen. With careful hand feeding that in the beginning went around the clock, I was able to parrot parent. When Fallen was finally strong enough to fly, I reintroduced him back to his flock. It was incredibly rewarding, but it was also heartbreaking. It has been my experience that rewarding and heartbreaking often go hand in hand. In grade school at Rose Elementary, I had one true companion. Her name was Margaret Z. Buckle. She made up the Z because she didn't have a middle name, and she had strong feelings about being seen as an individual. But Margaret, don't ever call her Peggy, moved away the summer after 5th grade. Her mother is a petroleum engineer and she got transferred to Canada. Despite the distance, I thought Margaret and I would stay really close. And in the beginning, it was like that. But I guess people are a lot more open in Canada because in Bakersfield, it was just Margaret and me against the world. Up there, she has all kinds of friends. Now, on the rare times when we correspond, she brings up things like a new sweater she got or a band she likes. She doesn't want to talk about chirotaphily, which is the pollination of plants by bats. She's moved on. Who can blame her? With Margaret in Canada, I was hoping that Sequoia Middle School would open up new avenues for friendship. It hasn't worked out that way. I'm small for my age, but I had a lot of anticipation about becoming a sequoia giant. Just the fact that the place had a tree as a mascot seemed so promising. The school was on the other side of town, and it was supposed to give me a fresh start since the kids from my elementary all went on to Emerson. My parents got special permission from the district to move me there. Mom and Dad believed I'd never found a teacher who truly understood me. I think it was more accurate to say that I'd never understood any of my teachers. There's a difference. Right before school began in the fall, the anticipation I felt was like waiting for the Amorphophallus paeonophysis to bloom. I went through a period of obsessively cultivating rare corpse flowers. My initial attraction was to their strange-looking blossom. The deep purplish red petals resembled sheets of velvet fabric that could line a casket, and the long, aggressive yellow stigma jutting from its center is like a jaundiced old man's finger. But the plant's reputation comes from its smell. because when the bloom opens, it's like having a dead body pop up from the soil. The stink is simply indescribably disgusting. I mean, it really takes some adjustment. No animal wants to get close, much less munch on the reeking, exotic, wine colored blossom. It's a reverse perfume. I believe that going to middle school would be life changing. I saw myself as the rare plant prepared to unfurl hidden layers, but I truly hoped that I wouldn't stink up the place. I tried to fit in. I researched teenagers, which was interesting because I was close to becoming one. I read about teenage driving, teenage runaways, and teenage dropout rates, and it was a shocker. But none of the research provided much enlightenment to my number one area of real interest: teenage friendship. If the media is to be believed, teenagers are too busy breaking laws and trying to kill themselves and the people around them to form any bonds of attachment. Unless, of course, those bonds produce a teenage pregnancy. The literature had a lot of information on that. Right before I started middle school, I had a physical. The exam went much, much, much better than expected because for the first time I had an actual medical issue. I had been waiting for 12 long years for this to happen. I needed glasses. Yes, the level of correction was slight, and yes, it could have been brought on in part by eye strain. Apparently, I focused too long on something right in front of me, like a book or a computer screen, and I don't look away into the distance and refocus enough. So I congratulated myself on this achievement because I had been hoping for some form of myopia, and now I had it. After the exam, we went to the ophthalmologist, and I picked out my eyeglasses. I was drawn to the frames that looked like what Gandhi wore. They were round, wire rimmed, and very old school, according to the woman who deals with that part of the process. They were perfect, because I was going forward in the brave new world in peace. A week before the first day of classes, I made another big decision. We were having breakfast, and I swallowed a large, bright bite of my healthy start meal, which consists of beet greens topped with flax seeds, both homegrown. And then I said, I have figured out what I'm going to wear for my first day at Sequoia. My father was at the sink, sneaking a bite of donut. I did my best to keep junk food away from these people, but they covered up a lot of their eating habits. My dad quickly swallowed a piece of his fudge puppy and asked, "And what will that be?" I was pleased. "I'll be wearing my gardening outfit." Dad must have taken too large of a bite because it sounded like the fudge donut was caught in his throat. He managed to say, "Are you sure about that?" Of course I was sure, but I stayed low key. "Yes, but I won't put binoculars around my neck, if that's what you're concerned about." My mom, who up until this point was unloading the dishwasher, turned around. I could see her face. She looked pained, like maybe she had just put away a whole load of dirty dishes, which is something that had happened before. Her face smoothed out, and she said, "What an interesting idea, honey, but I'm wondering, will people make the connection? Maybe it's better to wear a brighter color, like something red. You love red." They didn't get it. The first day at middle school was a chance to make a new introduction. I need to convey to the group a sense of my identity while keeping a few of the basic elements of my character under wraps. I couldn't stop myself from explaining. "I'm making a statement about my commitment to the natural world." I saw them exchange looks. My dad had fudge frosting on his front teeth, but I wasn't going to point this out, especially after he said, "Of course, you are so right." I looked down to my breakfast bowl and began counting the flax seeds, multiplying them by sevens. It's an escape technique. The next afternoon, a Teen Vogue magazine just appeared on my bed. All of these publications at that time of year centered on going back to school. On the cover, a teenage girl with hair the color of a banana had the widest smile that I had ever seen. The headline read, "Does your outfit say what you want it to?" No one took responsibility for putting it there.